How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlett, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, today, guys, I want to talk a little bit about Pokemon during E3. Now, see, here's the thing, right? Currently, it's the Golden Week over in Japan, so currently, during this week, we won't really be seeing much happening from Pokemon, Nintendo, and that sort of stuff in general. It's kind of going to be a bit dead for a bit of time, right? So it's going to be pretty off, I think, for the rest of this week, unless it was, like, already a bit earlier, but it's besides the point, guys. Either way, what I want to point out specifically is that right now, there's not going to be many news. Usually, though, May is the biggest month in the year for Pokemon. Usually during May the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all the way until the 15th of May is usually when you see a lot of Pokemon news, whether it be from Koro or anything like that. Usually that's where you see a lot of news about Pokemon, but that doesn't mean that's going to happen this year. We don't really know if anything's going to happen during May. We could get everything from, you know, some tidbits of information all the way to a full-blown announcement. We don't really know, but what I want to talk about and speculate about just shortly in this little video is about E3. So I have an article right here from techradar.com, which I'm going to link down below, which was posted 2 days ago, where they kind of discuss what do we want to see from Nintendo, and I'm going to go through that because it does have a lot of information that I think is worthwhile just kind of talking about and, you know, going through. So you already know that yesterday I did a really long video talking about my theory about Pokemon being specifically this year, and either way, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Today is just about will we see Pokemon at E3 and why it's been kind of unlikely in the past, but it may change this year, especially with Pokemon going to a brand new console, being a home console as well, aka the Switch. So I want to specifically go into that, guys. So let's get started firstly here with why we wouldn't really be expecting Pokemon during E3. The reason is because usually E3 is never the time where Pokemon reveals their big titles. They usually always reveal Pokemon games in their own directs because they see themselves as kind of like, oh, we're high tier, we shouldn't have to kind of, you know, be alongside these other things, overshadowing Pokemon. Will that change with E3? Like, you know, with like this game for the Switch? And then showing it off at E3, we don't really know. It's very much possible, but we don't really know. In the past, like I've just said again, in the past, they have been like, okay, we do our own thing. You guys don't deal with us, you know what I mean? You do your announcements over there, guys. We'll do our announcements on our own, because we are Pokemon. We are Game Freak. We are Nintendo, right? They always do things on their own. That's why you have Nintendo Directs. That's why you have Pokemon Directs, because they wanted to announce their stuff on their own so they wouldn't get overshadowed by other things. But now it may be different, because keep in mind, now Pokemon is kind of going to a brand new console, which they don't have a determined install base for. They don't have like numbers telling them, okay, we have this many people who bought the last game, you know, on this console. They don't have that. With the 3DS, they could do that. I mean, there was a lot of risk with X and Y when they made those, but they managed to sell them still. And they'll still be able to sell Pokemon. But this time around, it's a bit risky for them, because you're going into this brand new console, which again, it's not the same as, you know, the previous consoles, which were all handhelds mainly. They were specifically handhelds, lower price tags, in general, just, you know, things that were easier for people to, you know, kind of get. People bought two 3DSs and stuff, just so they could trade between two, you know, versions of Pokemon, like X and Y, you know what I mean? People did that sort of stuff. So, my point is, they're taking a bigger risk here. They're taking a huge leap, you know what I mean, in terms of, you know, going from one console to a brand new one, that came out last year. So you're taking a huge risk and a huge gamble, hoping that people will buy this console, which most likely people will, but again, it's like never 100% guaranteed, and you never know as a company, you know what I mean, because you're putting your whole, like, franchise over to this brand new thing, and you've taken a huge risk from it. But again, I think they are very likely to, you know, be ready for it, and it's going to go well for them. But again, keep in mind, in terms of advertising, it would then make sense that instead of doing this separate thing of their own, which only the most dedicated of fans will, like, you know, watch and see, instead of doing something like that, instead they'll show up at E3, which is like the biggest thing for every game, right? For all games. Maybe that's where they will show up. Again, not 100%, you know, possible or guaranteed, so to say, but still a possibility that's very likely that E3 is going to be when we'll see the game. Again, there is a possibility we'll see a Pokemon Direct just like right before we get the E3 presentation from Nintendo specifically. We'll see like maybe a Pokemon Direct like they did last year with Ultra Sun and Moon, which Ultra Sun and Moon like was shown off just a short while before the you know, E3 presentation was supposed to happen. And then at E3 they showed off some gameplay and stuff. As far as I remember, like they had a little gameplay thing. And also, they announced that they're going to be doing a Switch game last year at E3. So, it would make sense then that they officially revealed the game as well at E3 this year, because that's where they officially announced it they were making it. So, it just makes sense to me that that would kind of work out that way. But again, keep in mind, Pokemon and Game Freak, they think very highly of themselves, so they want to just make sure that they're in the spotlight and they're numero uno, right? They want to be the number one. They don't want to be overshadowed by anybody else, so it's very likely they could announce it ahead of time or even after E3, because it could happen we get no Pokemon information during E3 and we get an announcement afterwards. That's very possible. They've done it in the past. They have announced games a long time ago in the past. They announced games during July, June, July, and past July. I think one game was announced in August as well. Unless I'm getting that wrong, but I know games have been announced past the E3, kind of threshold, so that's a very big possibility. It doesn't mean, it's impossible that it wouldn't, perhaps not happen or whatever. So I want to make sure to point that out. But either way, let's get quickly into this little article down here so that we can just get this video kind of done and dusted for you guys. But let's actually read through this really quickly here. So, what we want to see Nintendo. With a new Zelda and a new Super Mario already out in the wild, we're expecting Nintendo to start rolling out its other tried and tested franchises. It's a high time for a new Smash Bros. Built from the ground up for Switch, and one that embraces the esports scene that's formed about Brawl and Melee over the past year, or over the years rather. Kirby and Yoshi are also set to to get new adventures in 2018, so we're fully expecting Nintendo to showcase gameplay from both. Yoshi's Woolly World was a side-scrolling hit on the 3DS, so what we've seen so far suggests a platform in a similar vein to follow suit. We're also hoping, however, unlikely it might be, that Animal Crossing might finally come to the Switch with a new entry. Please, 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 Nintendo. So yes, we know that for a fact. People do want to see Animal Crossing. There's a huge fan base around Animal Crossing that do want to see that stuff. We also know Fire Emblem is supposed to have a new game this year, which probably will be shown during E3, so that's going to be interesting. Then also, they talk about Metroid Prime here, which almost certainly will appear, whether it be at Nintendo's E3 show or in a special Nintendo Direct beforehand. The recent reveal on the 3DS has been well received by fans, so we have high hopes for Samus Aran's next full fat adventure. Finally, there's one everyone's been asking for, a Switch-based Pokemon, rumored to be called Pokemon Stars. The new entry could be a new pure Pokemon title, or a rehash of Sun and Moon. Either way, give us a proper game on our TVs, Nintendo. So they're just kind of talking about what things they want to see, and I agree with this. I agree with all this stuff. Now, Pokemon Stars, let's just kind of get rid of that already. That's not going to happen. Pokemon Stars was a rumor back in 2017. We're done with that. That's the only thing that we can relate to Pokemon Stars was that was perhaps just a port of Sun and Moon to the Switch to test out the engine of Sun and Moon on the Switch. That's the only thing I can imagine that being, so let's just forget about that in terms of it being some major major thing, major deal, or something we'll be seeing happening. Pokemon Stars, just put that on the side. That's just, don't take that seriously. We already have Ultra Sun and Moon, so Pokemon Stars, unlikely to ever happen, so we should probably just ignore that one, but still besides the point. Either way, that's kind of that, guys. I want to just kind of ask you with this video, guys, really quickly, what is your opinion on all this stuff? What do you think about Pokemon on E3? Do you think it's going to be revealed there? And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because, specifically of the things I mentioned earlier, Pokemon and Game Freak are very picky. They're very picky with how they reveal their games. They want to reveal them so to make sure that they have the most attention. So that's why I'm bringing up this video. Will we see it at E3, or will we get a Nintendo Direct ahead of time? Because May is a very important month. May is a really important month. We only have about 40 or so days left now, 41 days until E3 actually happens. So within these 40 days, there's a lot of possibilities. A lot of things could happen. So just keep that in mind, guys. Either way, thank you so much for watching, guys. My name is Wolf Rowlett, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.